Welcome, another episode, Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights here with Tim Getsch. We're going to talk about his favorite player, and kind of a favorite of mine too, Orel Hershiser. We both had some interaction and proximity, and I think he's a good role model in many respects, and an excellent pitcher, and of some notoriety. We're not his only two fans, but we'll talk about that. But first, I want to thank my other sponsors. I certainly want to thank ComC for sponsoring today's show and providing almost all of the audio. We'll see some back and forth with Tim and I. But also Beckett.com, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck. So great sponsors. But we're going to focus on not ComC today, but on Tim and your player collecting for Orel.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I taught at Bowling Green.
Okay.
And I had some overlap with him.
Really?
Yeah. But and I was a professor, and I was busy, not so much being a professor, although I did get tenure when I was there. And I had to walk past the baseball field to get to the golf course.
Okay.
Which I played some golf. One of my secrets of getting tenure, other than having a strong scholarly record and being a good teacher, is I played golf with the dean.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't let him beat me.
Oh, really?
We actually were almost perfectly evenly matched.
Huh.
And he so appreciated the fact that I didn't let him win, that when he beat me, he knew he'd legitimately beaten me. It was uncanny how we were both equally not so great. But he could tell I wasn't letting him win, and I was, so he looked favorably on my scholarly publications, of which my first scholarly publication was read by as many people as bought my first price guide in the first 15 minutes, I think. So I think I've told that story. Anyway, Orel Hershiser, are you his biggest fan?
I'm sure there's other bigger fans, because I've looked at kind of the market and what things are selling for now, and people are paying more money than I've been willing to pay. There's actually a lot of people that collect Orel Hershiser. I have other players that I collect that are much more obscure, and I'm used to being the only one collecting those players. But Orel Hershiser is one of the more popular players I collect.
Well, how are you collecting him? I mean, do you have bounds? We talked to the guy last night that collects Brett Favre, but only 91 to 2000. Are you?
Well, I was trying to collect everything I could find of Orel Hershiser. Unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of the Leaf and Panini cards that don't have the team logo. Especially like an autograph card, I don't really feel like paying a premium when it doesn't have the team logo on it. So I've focused on really cards that have the team logo, or minor league cards. Although you did just show me a card I didn't know existed.
Just save it up for you, Tim. Now I think there's a lot of Orel's worthy of collecting, and I think he's he had not rags to riches, but it seemed like he really paid his dues. Because when I was at Bowling Green, he wasn't a big stuff until maybe his last year. He was good, but just a bulldog. Bulldog. So was that your attraction? Was just that he was or are you a doxology fan?
Well, I started paying attention to baseball in '87 because the Twins won the World Series. And so I grew up in Minnesota, so we were all watching the World Series. And then I thought in '88, I want to start investing in sports cards. I was, a grade schooler. And so I was paying attention very closely to the sports card industry. And then '88 was the year Orel Hershiser had his streak. And the very first card show I went to was to find an Orel Hershiser rookie card, because the local card shop that I went to didn't have one. So I had to go to the card show. And then I discovered all sorts of other Orel Hershiser cards, and I would pretty much pick up any kind of, back then it was common to have Broders and all sorts of weird cards.
Right.
And so I would pick up whatever I could find. And also, there weren't crazy parallels. Right. So, like, maybe the Desert Shield would have been the first hard to find Hershiser card. And looking back at my childhood collection of Hershisers, it was just like food issue cards, and I got the minor league card, a couple of minor league cards. And then my early days on eBay, actually, if you know what my eBay username is, it's nod to Orel Hershiser. I created the account to find Orel Hershiser cards. And then
you started ComC to find Orel Hershiser.
ComC was a combination. By the time I started ComC, I was an avid basketball collector, and most of my focus has been on basketball. Hershiser, and I also collect Brian Harper. There's a couple of players, baseball players that I collect, but I have a lot of other kind of reasons to collect basketball cards.
But with Orel, are you 95% complete? I mean, except for the really, really tricky parallels?
So I just looked at my ComC account, and I have more than 500 different Orel Hershiser cards, but I don't know how that compares. I didn't look to see how many different Orel Hershiser cards there are. And then I probably have some that have never been on the site as well. But I also, with Orel Hershiser, have a ton of his rookie cards just because, I mean, the closest.
So you don't mind duplicates?
Yeah. Really, it's mainly his rookie cards that I'll get a lot of duplicates of. So I probably have almost 100 copies of every rookie card, if not like the Topps cards. I probably have closer to 500.
What about graded? Do you get them graded? Or
I'm not a huge fan of grading. I've never really been big into grading. I do have some. I have some graded Tiffany, and I probably have some of the base rookie cards. But the other ones, the Finest Refractor 93. So there's some cards that I wanted to get graded, or I shouldn't say get them graded, but I bought them already graded.
Well, you wouldn't crack them out.
Right. But that's not really been my focus, because I'm not collecting him to invest in him. I'm collecting him because I like his cards. I like his career.
What's your end game?
With Hershiser, it's probably an inheritance down the road. I'm not planning on selling although I do have to say, following the current market, the Hershiser Museum, I did buy a bunch of autographed Hershiser cards in the early 2000s and mid 2000s. And especially now that nothing has the team logo, the old ones with the team logo are selling for a lot more than I paid for them. And I have some duplicates of those. Winning stuff at auction, it's hard to only get one. Often you'll be bidding on multiple auctions at the same time and end up with both of them. So I do have some that I could part with.
Listeners need to realize that the opinions of the guests are not necessarily the opinions, but in some cases they are the same opinions. And I shouldn't play favorites, Panini over Leaf or even vice versa. I mean, all these card companies, I think, do a great job with what they have. The licensing situations are what we find in this day and age. And so, to make the card or not make the card, they can still make the card but not have the logo. So, but it's they'd all like to have the logos.
On that note, I do collect a ton of basketball, so I buy a lot of Panini cards.
Okay.
But for Hershiser, I won't pay as much of a premium for a card that doesn't have the team logo.
Will you ever be complete? I mean,
Actually, that's a great question, because as I mentioned, I didn't check. I haven't looked up to see cards that ComC knows about, but I don't own. I do know there's a number that I don't have, because I can actually just look at ComC and look at the sold out items and see, well, there's a feature that I have.
I'm listening.
That I haven't turned on for the public yet, that highlights any cards that I own. It puts a gray background on any card that I own. So I can actually just look at Orel Hershiser on ComC, look at all the sold out items, or even items that are for sale, and anything that I don't already own jumps out at me. And I know there's a number on there that I don't already have. So that's a feature that will be coming to everybody sometime in the near future, probably this year. Yeah.
A guy we were talking to, we had this dinner last night. We'll mention it. I'm not sure when that'll drop or when this will drop, but one of the guys told me at some point that he's a player collector. He did have a want list, but he could not disclose what he was missing.
Right.
Because then people would see him coming. Yeah. So do you have that same, or is it just a lack of full organization, or
I have
another thing you're trying to get to?
I have mixed feelings about that, because I do collect a bunch of obscure things, and I will never get them if people don't know that I'm looking for them. So while some people may try to capitalize on the fact that I'm looking for cards and try to scoop them up and make a profit trying to flip them, some other people may just try to help me out as a fellow collector and send cards in that I might need. So part of the reason I haven't rolled out all the features related to building a want list and publicizing things that you want is I want to think through those scenarios and how they're going to be utilized. For example, if someone is looking through cards that I need and sending something into ComC because they want to help me fill my want list, or another collector that has it legitimately on their want list, I want them to be able to offer it to us first before it goes out to people that are just looking to flip it. And so I think what we're going to see is a combination of people declaring the cards that they're chasing after, a set, a player, the cards that they have, the cards that they want. And then as new cards come onto the site, they'll get notifications of those cards that they're missing. And then you get a chance to kind of get an early bird special to jump on those cards and grab the ones you need. And then if the people that are the true collectors, the super collectors, the set builders, once they've passed on it, then if someone else wants to buy it and sit on it, then they can do that.
And you can separate out the flippers from the. So, I mean, I know.
So if someone is trying to flip, they would have to declare that they're looking for that player. So you could say, I'm going to look at every Orel Hershiser card that comes on, and I want all these Orel Hershiser cards. But I might have some smarts that say, how many Orel Hershiser cards do you have? If you have 75% of all Orel Hershiser cards, I might give you a 30-second head start on buying this card over someone who simply just said, I want to see all the Orel Hershiser cards.
Is this a premium category of buyer? Because
probably.
And so with ComC, I think the playing field is pretty level. It's good for the buyer, good for the seller. But the things you're talking about with respect to Orel Hershiser and other player collecting things, could that tip the balance in favor of certain buyers?
Well, I think what it'll do is encourage people to be collectors. And because a lot of times what happens is people try to flip cards, and as a collector, you're buying them second, third hand after several flips. And I would prefer to help out the people that
get
are
in the
actually
hands of the person that's
the person that's going to take it off the market.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. And that it honestly would help the initial consignor of the card to get a bigger premium on it if they can sell it directly to the person that's going to take possession of the card.
Okay, last question. How many other Orel Hershiser collectors are there out there? You think there's 10 that are more avid, 20, 50, 100? For Brian Harper, it could be nobody, maybe. Although he had a couple of good years.
I didn't look up that data, but I probably could. I could look at ComC and see who's buying the most Orel Hershiser cards. I don't know off the top of my head, but I would imagine there's at least 10 avid Hershiser
that have
collectors.
him on there for alerts, for when his cards pop up. And that's, again, you don't represent the whole industry. I think you have a significant part of it, but there's probably others out there too. But if you're a collector of any player, again, a plug for ComC, why wouldn't you be on ComC to see at least perusing the site and taking advantage of the opportunity to buy something? And actually, you better get on there now, because apparently there's going to be some of these features. You better get in while you can and get your place in line, and let Tim know that you're an Orel Hershiser collector. Actually, that won't do any good. Maybe let him know that you're some other kind of collector. But Orel, thanks for giving us great memories. Sorry I didn't have more interaction with you at Bowling Green State University. It was a great place, very sports-oriented place, and have fond memories from being there in the late 70s. So that's gave you your start, and your perseverance was well rewarded. So thanks, Tim, for giving us a chance to go back on those memories. Be back again with another episode tomorrow. And Tim, I want to get you back for another episode where we can dig deeper into some of these future features of ComC. Thanks, listeners. See you tomorrow.